Hey trackies, welcome back to another video. Please remember to smash the subscribe button, hit the like button as well. That's how the video gets to the YouTube algorithm. Share the video if you care. And yeah, lots of caring happened, which is why we're here when it comes to the 4x100 meters. So share the content for sure. And yeah, please sound off in the comment section below because yes, trackies, yeah, I'm excited. Reports coming in that our athletes are in Europe. They're in a camp and they're practicing for the 4x100 meters. Men and women. I'm like, we're here. We have arrived. We have even. Okay, no, trackies, I have to laugh and yeah, make stuff up, make up words too. Because when I think about where we're coming from with this whole relay saga, when TXT Track Time just started, we went out on a limb, highlighting even when we were winning on the women's side, and we decided to highlight that actually, even though we won, right? And this was back in 2021. Some of these videos are probably not even up on our channel anymore because child, I've had to delete so much things over the years because of, copyright infringement. Yeah. So a lot of things no longer exist, but, we had to be, go out on a limb as far as I'm concerned to highlight that actually, if we don't improve, what we're looking at, we're actually going to watch our relays decline. And that's literally what happened. And our legacy at this particular point is, on the line, as far as I'm concerned when it comes to men and women, competing in the 4x100 meters. And back then, take off with it clean. I'm surprised that I still have neck. Me still have neck? Okay, me still love it. I'm surprised that I still have neck. Take off with it clean, me I tell you. A lot of y'all told us, hey, it was just going to work. And we asked, how was it going to work? Magic. You know what I mean? It was just going to magically work. But we've lived to see here in 2025. And I keep saying we because back then it was myself and my sister, right? So we've lived to see where the struggles of, highlighting these issues and a lot of people, cussing us out. And, you could count, on your fingers, the number of people that actually agreed with, getting some kind of, camp going for athletes, right? And to witness, no. A lot of y'all switch your tone and jump over and TXT Track Time and say, look here, we need to get practicing is absolutely crazy. But we're here for it because this is what we wanted. So we're happy. But also, most importantly, we're happy that the clubs got on board. We're happy seeing MVP, step up and do what is right. We've needed this for years. I remember at World Relays, it was highlighted to me that I hope me not see TXT Track Time and cuss out MVP because see there, them send out them athlete them. And what could I say? They sent them out. They sent out, they're full, A team as far as I'm concerned. I was like, okay, this is what we need to see. Now, of course, we suffered, blundered mishaps, in the men's 4x1. Can't really blame, one particular athlete. Though I do think, Johan Blake kind of misjudged, especially the last one, what he should have done. The right, option as far as I'm concerned. But outside of that, right? And it is salt. They were just salt, at the world relays. So seeing, MVP come out and no racers, of course, is on board, because Oblique Civil will be competing at the London leg for the Diamond League in the 4x100 meters as well. So really, really happy seeing them come together because the J3s, as far as I'm concerned, yes, may beat them up all the while and say, get this done. But they can try all they want. If the clubs are not doing it, then the clubs them not do it. You know what I mean? So really, really happy seeing everybody come together, club and the J3s, and get it done. So now we have athletes actually in practice, right? Training at in Italy, right, for the 4x100 meters. So we're hearing that Kishane, of course, is there. Rowan Watson will be there. Of course, I highlighted Oblique Seville. I did do the men's 100-meter preview already, so he is going to be there, right? Who am I missing? Akeem Blake as well. He will be there as well. Solid A team as far as I'm concerned. Even though we can add to this team, it's still an A team. So even if we add other members, it's still an A team. So I don't think this team is not an A team because we don't have the likes of a Ryan Ford on it or a Ryan Lavelle. I think this team is still an A team regardless, right? So those athletes are there, but we're also hearing that Cajun Golson is there as well, and I believe Rhyme 4 they say should be coming in, right? I know I saw him over the weekend competing in the US, right, at the Ed Murphy Classic. Himself and Brian Lavelle were there. I don't know if they'll be flying over, but we're hearing reports that more athletes will be coming in. Actually, today Monday, they should be arriving in Italy. So I'm actually going to continue doing what TXT Track Time has been doing over the years. We're finally getting the responses that we should have been getting. And to be fair, I'm not gonna tell you no lie. I've witnessed, over the years, especially in 2023, I believe, where they finally actually started listening to what the public was saying, right? So I'm not gonna say that this is the first time that they've listened, but such a step as in a camp for relays has not happened, right? So I'm really, really happy, seeing that. But I have to also highlight areas that I think we need to improve on, because that's how we're going to continue to get better, right? So looking at the lineup for the 4x100 meters, I'm seeing Great Britain, they have two teams there, right? And Jamaica has one team, the Netherlands has one team, Poland has one team. Scotland, I think, has a team there, though I'm not really sure what's going on with their flag, right? But I don't even know why Scotland has a team. Is Scotland and Great Britain the same thing? But anyway, moving on, right? I was thinking that, I was hoping that Jamaica would have two teams here, right? Because I think it's a perfect opportunity to continue, getting the practice in. You never know when you need to, plug and play another athlete, because, another athlete may not be available, for the relay based on the time that they're competing. Or maybe an athlete unfortunately picked up an injury and we need to slot somebody else in, right? So you never know when you're going to need another member or another two athletes, maybe in the heats, for qualifying for our finals, we're going to need other athletes, right? So I think it's imperative to have at least 8 people in, a kind of a little pool thing going on, where we can have these athletes consistently, in practice. And hearing, reports that we're likely to have at least 7 people there, I'm like, why not have 8? Why not have 8 and have them compete there? J3s, if it's a budget thing, we supposed to can afford it. Again, me gonna highlight that Puma contract. I don't like when me talk about it, but me gonna highlight the Puma contract, right? So we should be able to afford having the athletes there. So I don't think that should be a reason why they're not there, unless the athletes themselves, highlight that they're not able to make it. You know what I mean? But outside of that, I was hoping to see, as I said, 2 teams here. And another reason why I keep stressing the fact that we need to continue, this practicing, is because I'm hoping that persons are not delusional in thinking that this one training session, this one training camp is going to resolve all our issues. No, 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 no. It's not magic. Like I said at the top of the video, when y'all were telling us that, oh, it was just going to work by magic, back in the day. And here we are now, where we realize that no, it's not going to work by magic. I'm hoping that y'all understand as well that it's not going to work by magic. I'm hoping that, because consistency is what's going to cause us to improve. Consistently having these athletes run 4x100 meters, not just a one-off come together run. No, we have to make sure that these athletes are consistently competing together. And a number of the members, that are part of our 4x100 meters, especially for the A team, they weren't in, a kind of high school structure where they had a 4-man team, running 4x1s, right? So with that being said, there's a lot of inexperience here. From a Kishane perspective, this is the first time he'll be competing with a lot of these guys, or the A team, as I put it, right, for the 4x100 meters, right? So again, with this inexperience, I'm not expecting, one training session or one training camp to get everything resolved. No, I expect them to be competent enough to compete in the 4x100 meters, absolutely. And I'm going to get into that, my thoughts as it relates to how this race may go. But I'm not expecting everything to be perfect, from, the get-go. So I'm hoping and praying that we're not just thinking that quote unquote fast legs fix everything, because I don't want us to fall back into that, because that's how we ended up in this issue in the first place, depending on just fast legs and not getting practice in. So I'm hoping that going forward, we actually continue this, right, into next year. Hit up meetings in Jamaica. We have the Gibson relays. A number of the athletes, most of the athletes actually train in Jamaica. So there should be no issue creating 2 teams, 3 teams, even the whole 8 lane track, should be filled with, as far as I'm concerned, relay teams. We have that many men anyway. Have you ever checked our meetings in Jamaica? How many men actually enter? We have enough man to create, a 4-man team in 8 lanes, right? So with that being said, I don't see the issues or the issue with us, continuing this, and I don't want us to, as I said, fall back into just thinking that the fastest legs are just gonna, fix everything. So going into next year, I'm hoping to see, our athletes target, as I said, the Gibson relays. If we can target any overseas, sure, I'll be happy for that, because I'm not thinking that there'll always be a relay camp, and that's not my thought process, right? So if we get a relay camp this year, great, right? We may not get one next year, and next year is not a championship year, right? So maybe we can get a relay camp next year as well, but who knows? Maybe we won't. When we head off into 2027, another World Championships, will we get another camp then? Keep that in mind. Okay, that's all I'm saying. But anyway, let's jump into this men's 4x100 meters, because things are going to be interesting. Things are going to be very, very interesting, because Great Britain, as I said, has 2 teams, and Great Britain is rolling deep. And if the athletes that I see in the men's 100 meters are the actual athletes that line up for the 4x100 meters, then yeah, they're going to challenge Jamaica, and challenge Jamaica not because they're as fast as Jamaica from an individual foot speed perspective, but we know Great Britain has been getting practicing, and a lot of these guys have been with the team for years. So there's a lot of consistency going there, for them. But as I said, most important, they practice, they get practice in. So you see from time to time where, a slower 4 actually beat out a faster 4, because by the time them slow down, the 3 time to get batten, then the slower team them run gone left them long time, right? And that's what we don't want, in this men's 4x100 meters. And I'm really hoping that we can come into this men's 4x100 meters and dominate a Great Britain, because that will highlight, like I've been saying, that I believe Jamaica can get back to being dominant in the 4x100 meters. I watched a video, some time ago where, the British athletes were probably of the thought process that we were depending on Usain Bolt to win relays. No, we were not depending on, Usain Bolt to win relays, right? A lot of those guys had tons of experience, right? Running in relays. Usain Bolt, for the most part, didn't, but guess what? He was a part of a club structure where he was with Johan Blake, and, reportedly they were training together, with baton exchanges, while they were in practice at their club, right? So by the time, those 2 came together, and then you got the 2 from MVP, then guess what? If them are practice over there so by for themselves, and they're over there practicing together, they come together, and it worked. It worked for them, right? It's not working so much for, what's going on now, even if they're, individually practicing over there at their separate clubs. Hasn't been working in recent times, but I think it's because a lot of the guys are relatively new and inexperienced. So it hasn't been working. So I don't necessarily think we were depending on Usain Bolt, right? But yeah, I think that this team can win. I think it can win, but the only way it's going to win is if we have effective, smooth changes, right? The passes, we're effectively using up the zone as well, right? So I'm keeping my eye on a lot of that will be happening, in areas that we can improve on. And of course, I said I have a different structure for the men's 4x100 meters. Based on what I see happening now, I don't think they'll be able to implement it. Me talking like I'm the coach. But anyway, based on what I see happening right now, with the structure of the team, they may not be able to, use our thoughts. Let's put it that way, for 2025. But it's something for them to think about, for other years, right? But I'm waiting to see what they do in this men's 4x1, because I do have, another thought process as it relates to how the men's 4x1 should be structured, right? But I do think Great Britain is going to give us a run for our money, because this is Great Britain's A team. Great Britain's A team will be running, and Great Britain now has put themselves in a position where they're practically always on the podium. You know what I mean? So we have to make sure that we turn up and show them, say, your A team not as good as Full A team, whether it be from changes, exchanges, or whether it be from just leg speed. We are better, right? And I know we're better from leg speed. We just need to work on its changes. And as I said, I'm not expecting perfection, but I think it should be enough to win this race. And again, put the world on notice that Jamaica has returned, and that's what I'm looking for in this men's 4x1. But yeah, those were my thoughts, trackies. Let me know what you think. Like the video, of course, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.